Laurie Murray. I am doing a little book review of The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyne. And it was probably one of the best books I've read in a long time. Um, I read quite a bit now, but this one kind of kept me a little bit more interested than what I've been reading. So, this boy, his name is Bruno. His family lives in Berlin during World War II. Um, his dad is part of the German army, so he's part of the Third Reich, and he is given a new job by what Bruno calls the Fury, which is the Führer. So he's given a new job, and they're sent away to Auschwitz, which you don't really know it's Auschwitz throughout the whole book because Bruno can't really pronounce things that well. He calls it out with. So it kind of makes sense that it's out with the old and out with the people that they think are bad. So his family gets sent there, and Bruno has no friends, nothing to do, and he's always been talking about exploring and how he wanted to be an explorer when he grew up. And so he set out and do an exploration and kind of walked around Auschwitz on the fence and everything. So a 9-year-old boy walking around Auschwitz, that's a little terrifying. But he makes friends with a little boy that would get away from the soldiers in Auschwitz, and they became fast friends and would talk to each other about like an hour a day. And then it would be the thing that Bruno would bring food to him because he was starving, and he was starting to look thinner and thinner and more gray, they said. So going a little bit more deeper into it, things happen. It gets a little bit more intense, and it kind of leaves you biting your fingernails is the best way to say it. I didn't think this ending would happen, but spoiler alert, Bruno goes into Auschwitz underneath the fence to help, his name is Shmuel. He goes underneath the fence to help Shmuel find his dad, because his dad, which we realize was taken to a gas chamber and was killed. So Bruno goes underneath the fence to help Shmuel find his dad, and in the meantime, he gets kind of trapped there. He had a shaved head from lice earlier on in the story, so he started to look more like a prisoner at Auschwitz. And Shmuel was able to get Bruno a set of the striped pajamas, and so he was able to change his clothes, so he looked like a prisoner. Then, during his exploration, right before he was about to leave, the soldiers make them do a march. Now, this march ended up leading them into the gas chamber, and Bruno and Shmuel died in the gas chamber together holding hands. Very heartbreaking. I was shocked that it led to this. But I love this book so much because of it, that it was a roller coaster of emotions, that Bruno was starting to learn how to kind of empathize and sympathize for people, and also learn that not everything that he has to think needs to come out, and he has to say it. So that was a little bit more important for a reader to kind of grow with the protagonist. So this book I highly recommend. Some things that I have noticed throughout a few of the John Boyne books that I have read. I've read The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, Stay Where You Are, Then Leave, and then The Boy at the Top of the Mountain. Two of which are about World War II, and one is about World War I. So, as you can tell, I love history. It's historical fiction. It's amazing. But this one had to be my favorite. And a reoccurring theme that I found in most of his novels, that I've read, is that he kind of has a repetitive way of writing. The protagonist, the main character, will say a line, and you'll think it's super important, and it will be keep on repeating throughout the whole entire book. Like there was one line in The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, and it was about his friends in Berlin, and he started, as the book went on, he started to use names who were in Berlin. So that was something that I found that was super important in this novel, and also in a lot of his other novels that I've read. It kind of does the same. Now, I would probably set this grade level would probably be about like sixth grade, because there's a lot of reading between the lines that needs to happen for understanding this book. Like there's a little bit more of reading between the lines in this book that John Boyne really plays into, and not so much in the other two novels that I read by him that it does the same, like reading in between the lines, but this one is definitely reading in between the lines. Like you don't really know that they're being taken to a gas chamber just because you're in the point of following Bruno, is the best way to put it. So you kind of have that mindset of a 9-year-old, as you don't know if it's Auschwitz or not because he says it's out with, and then you don't know if it's actually the Fuhrer or if it's another like general called the Fury. So it needs a little bit of an older age group to kind of get those inferences and to get these references and to understand what is being said in the books. I've kind of noticed that, like I said before, that John Boyne's style is he really does historical fiction, and with the World War II books, it is mainly about somebody who is part of the German army or part of the German side, and we don't really hear much about the German side. We hear about the American or the English or anybody who was basically on our side. We hear about the Allies. We don't hear about the Axis. It's very interesting that he would take this side because you don't hear much about it, and especially as a child, you don't hear a child's point of view of it. You don't hear a child's innocence out of it. But he really portrays that in a way that it makes sense, that you're questioning it as well because you've questioned it all throughout your life on why would this happen? Why would anybody do this? And it kind of all puts it together what he's writing, that it's like, oh, he had like with The Boy at the Top of the Mountain, he had an incredible, Hitler had an incredible charisma that made many people like follow him and want to be around him. I think that it's what he has been doing in these novels, like especially with the World War II novels, view it a different way and to view it at a different aspect, because everybody can read a Diary of Anne Frank and can view it from somebody who has been in Auschwitz and has been through the Holocaust, but you don't get it from a child's perspective of a German like soldier's son. And that's where The Boy in the Striped Pajamas really hit the mark on that. So I highly recommend it. It's a movie too, so I recommend reading the books first and then watching the movie, because I haven't watched the movie yet, but I've heard that it's a little different than what the book is, so I always kind of read the book first and then watch the movie, because there's a lot of changes and I don't want to look at a book with a critical eye. I would rather look at a movie with a critical eye. So yeah, hope you enjoy, and good luck reading A Boy in the Striped Pajamas. It's a little heartbreaking, so thanks.